Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Fund It Fast Chat. I am Rochelle Butler, Energy Manager with the San Joaquin Valley Clean Energy Organization. Thank you all so much for being with us. I'm always super excited to be with you each and every second Tuesday of the month. We will get going momentarily, but first, let's take care of our housekeeping really quickly here. Please make note that all of your microphones have been muted upon joining the call. We do this simply to minimize background noise. If you have any questions at all, I highly encourage you to go ahead and enter them into the chat box. You can do so at any point during the presentation, and we will save some time at the end of the call to address those questions. Next, I would like to invite everyone to connect with us on any one of our many platforms. You can find us on Twitter, on Instagram, on Spotify, or you can just connect with us the old-fashioned way via telephone or via email. As always, you can get access to any of our resources by going to our website. That's sjvcleanenergy.org. Again, that is sjvcleanenergy.org. Okay, so let's get started. This week, we are going to shift our focus a little bit to residential and talk about the SoCalREN Residential Multifamily Program. I believe this is a really great program and a good opportunity because we have partners that own housing, some that own income qualified housing, so they'll be able to gain some really valuable insight this morning. Also, this program offers a really good opportunity to bolster economic development in your area by offering an avenue for new contractors and trade pros. The goal of the SoCalREN Multifamily Residential Program is to help multifamily communities throughout the SoCalREN service area reduce energy use and provide a more comfortable, safer living environment for tenants through property improvements and upgrades. The multifamily sector has historically been very difficult to serve with utility programs, and I believe this program has a really good solution to that issue. So let's talk about the paths to participation. The multifamily program has two avenues through which a person or entity can participate. There is the whole building pathway and the comprehensive common area pathway. The whole building pathway serves each individual unit within a complex or a building. The comprehensive common area pathway addresses any area that is shared among tenants. For example, laundry quarters, if there's a lobby or an event space, pool areas, or clubhouse area if applicable, and of course, outdoor lighting. This is not by any means an exhaustive list, but I just want you to kind of get an idea of what those spaces would look like and what they would include. Digging a little deeper into the whole building pathway, I want to talk about the eligibility requirements. There are 4 areas in which to qualify. These areas are property, building, project, and capital. In order to qualify, the building must receive service from Southern California Edison and or Southern California Gas Company. So you must be a customer of either or both to participate. The building itself must have at least 5 individual units. A multifamily home, as defined by the program, is having 5 or more units. So things like duplexes or triplexes would not qualify. The project itself must meet a minimum threshold of measures. So it must include 3 energy efficiency measures, and it must be able to achieve a minimum of 10% improvement in energy efficiency or energy savings, if you will. And finally, we have the capital. There must be capital available to cover the non-incentive portion of the project cost. If the capital is not available, there are financing options available, which I will talk about in just a couple of moments. Now for the fun part. There are incentives that are built into the program, and they are calculated based on the overall energy savings of the project and the number of units that are served. Therefore, the more measures and units generally means the more incentives, which is awesome. However, the incentives are capped though. The maximum incentive the project can receive is 60% of the total project cost, which is still very generous. We're talking about more than half of the total cost of the project. Also, if you are a DAC, which is short for a disadvantaged community, the cap is a little bit higher. The cap is at 75%. So now you're probably wondering, what kind of measures are we talking about being offered through the program? There are quite a few measures that are offered. There's everything from duct sealing and insulation, which is a tremendous energy saving measure. There are packaged terminal air conditioners and heat pumps that are available. The program also offers water measures such as high efficiency shower heads, bathroom faucets, and kitchen faucets. I'm not going to go through the entire list, but you get a good sense of what measures are available. I would also like to point out that the very last item on the list, other measures with the asterisk next to it, that basically means additional measures may be available. So just talk to your program manager when you sign up for the program. Now, let's talk about the comprehensive common area pathway. Eligibility has 5 parts: property, building, project, capital, and incentives. For the common areas, the property must be a Southern California Edison customer. Now, this is a little bit different from the whole building pathway, where you can be either a Southern California Edison customer or a Southern California Gas Company customer, or both. And the reason for this is that the majority of the common area measures are electric. The building itself must have 5 units, the same as with the whole building pathway. The project must include 2 eligible energy efficiency measures. It must also include at least 1 electric savings measure, and it must achieve between 4% and 10% improvement on energy efficiency. Again, as with the whole building pathway, the capital must be available to cover the non-incentive portion of the project cost. But again, financing is available through this pathway as well. The incentive structure is just slightly different here. The incentives can be up to 35% or 45% if you are in a disadvantaged community. So the measure list is where the 2 pathways kind of begin to look a little different, and for obvious reasons. The measures include items like lighting, pipe insulation, hot water recirculation controls. There are also pool and spa items such as programmable pool and spa pump controls, high efficiency pool and spa heaters, pool and spa heater timers, and pool covers as well. And the last item, but certainly not the least, is the Energy Star clothes washers that are also available through the program. So what does participation look like? Well, there are generally 4 steps to the participation process. That includes the no-cost consulting, assessment, installation, and incentives. The consulting part consists of an energy consultant from the SoCalREN team to work with the property to confirm eligibility as well as identify the measures that would be available. The assessment is a detailed property energy assessment that will identify opportunities to upgrade the energy efficiency of the property. Next comes the installation. A participating contractor installs the energy efficiency measures at the property, and a quality assurance inspection is also completed. And the final thing is the incentive. So the incentive check will be issued based on the amount of energy that is saved. Okay, so I know I kept mentioning the financing, so here we are. Um, the financing is in the form of an energy service agreement, or an ESA for short. And that ESA was created specifically to fund projects for multifamily program customers. The ESA is made possible by a partnership between Los Angeles County, National Energy Improvement Fund, or NEIF for short, the Renew Energy Partners, as well as ICF. So, in terms of the larger details of how the financing product works, is that it is a zero money down agreement, which is great. So, zero upfront cost. The equipment is actually owned and serviced by Renew Energy Partners until the loan is paid in full, which is nice. So, in a sense, you can kind of think of it like a lease purchase agreement, if you will. The application process is quite simple, and the application can be accessed online via the SoCalREN portal. I'll be sure to include links where you can find that information in our follow-up email today after the call. Okay, so I just want to take a really brief moment and talk about some of the benefits to participating in the program, because there are quite a few. Some benefits to the property owner are that they receive project engineering and technical support, which is huge. In language support for anyone whose first language may be other than English. The incentives are always a great benefit. Also, reducing energy and water costs, reducing tenant maintenance calls. Those can be very costly. Increasing tenant retention and being able to contribute to local environmental goals. Some of the benefits for the tenants include things like reduced energy costs, improved indoor air quality, enhanced safety through more reliable outdoor lighting, and also new appliances, windows, and other features depending on the project. Those are all really nice. So that wraps up the presentation portion that I have for you this morning. We're going to try something a little bit different for our questions section today. I have a very, very special guest here with a very special guest with us this morning to go through some questions. Everyone, I would like to welcome Savi Basa to the Fast Chat, who is an account manager with ICF. Savi, would you like to unmute yourself and say good morning to everyone?
Hi, good morning, everyone. Excited to be here, and thank you, Rochelle, for that introduction.
Thank you, and I'm excited to have you here. I reached out to Savi to inquire about some of the most frequently asked questions that she gets about the program, and she was kind enough to share a couple of them to kind of talk through for this morning's call. So while we're going through those questions, I'm going to go ahead and just flip the slide to the next slide here so that you can see the contact information on your screen. Don't worry if you don't get it all written down. I will include all of this information in the follow-up email that goes out after the call. Okay, so without further ado, I'll go ahead and jump into the first question for Savi. The first question is, are all of the units within a building required to participate in the program?
Yeah, that's a question I get a lot about this program, and the news is that no, not all units will have to participate. So, what you were mentioning, Rochelle, earlier, the different pathways. One option is the common area pathway. Again, those are measures associated with common areas, so units don't have to participate within that pathway. Or even if you are deciding to do any in-unit measures, not all units will have to participate at all. It is entirely up to you. Obviously, the more measures you implement and the greater savings, the higher the incentive. But it's completely up to the property owner as to how much they would like to do.
That's awesome. I can't imagine why any individual unit wouldn't want to participate and get, get upgrades to their unit, but those things can happen, I'm sure.
Yes, yeah.
So once, once they kind of kick off the project, is there a specific timeline in which you have to complete it, Savi, or what do those timelines look like?
Yeah, so once we start the project, the main timeline is the year timeline. So we would like to complete all projects by December 31st of the year. So again, the timeline is largely up to the property owner, but once we get started, like you mentioned in the slides before, we like to go ahead and do that assessment on the property. The assessment itself takes only a few hours, but we take a week to return the report back to you to let you know how much the energy savings will be and what the potential incentive will be. Then the construction timeline is entirely up to the property owner. And then we would then possibly complete a post inspection if the project gets selected. And then we close out after reviewing all the required documentation. But the main deadline to look for is to uh, entirely finish the project before the end of the year. So if we're starting the project, we obviously couldn't start it, late December. We probably wouldn't have enough time to complete construction and review the documents. So that also depends on the timeline of construction.
Awesome. So it sounds like there's some flexibility in there.
Yes,
Um,
yes.
we Awesome. So we mentioned financing a couple of times throughout the presentation. Savi, are you able to shed a little light on where the funding comes from?
Yeah, sure. So this comes from LA County. Uh, the REN stands for Regional Energy Network. So throughout California, there are different regional networks. So the Southern California one is sponsored by LA County themselves. You'll notice that Rochelle mentioned earlier uh, SoCal Gas, SoCal Edison. Something that to highlight really is that if you have completed a project that received incentives from SoCal Gas and from SoCal Edison previously within the past 5 years, we cannot incentivize that same measure again. So, for example, you might have done low flow shower heads through SoCal Gas maybe 2 years ago, but we can't pay on that low flow shower head again if you decide to renovate for whatever reason those low flow shower heads once more. So even though the funding comes from LA County, that's just an important point I like to highlight that we can't double dip in that case, but primarily comes from LA County in conjunction with working with SoCal Edison, SoCal Gas.
Awesome. Okay, awesome. Well, those are the three questions that we had. I don't see that any more came in the chat box. So I would like to thank Savi so much for being with us this morning and available to answer questions. I am going to kind of wrap us up here. I would like to remind everyone to please look out for our follow-up email later on today. That email will include a link to the recording of this presentation, as well as any related resources we mentioned during the call. Take a quick second and add us to your email contacts list. We want to make sure that you're receiving our communications so you can stay up to date on what's going on around the partnership. That email is info@sjvcleanenergy.org. I also encourage everyone listening to please share the fast chat with your friends or your colleagues. You never know how this information might benefit someone or inspire ideas for new projects. What's next for the fast chat? Well, I'm really excited to announce that we are planning to have a whole EV summer. You heard correctly. We'll be talking about EVs for the whole entire summer, and I'm super excited about that. But we will be covering the PG&E EV Fleet Program for our July Fast Chat. Southern California Edison's Charge Ready program for our August Fast Chat, and then we'll wrap it all up in September with the California Vehicle Rebate Program. And we hope that you attend all of them, of course. So thank you, everyone, as always, for joining us. I hope you have a wonderful week, and I hope everyone stays safe and stays healthy.